but that'll probably be several months down the road.
What's it like to be back in Champaign, around Brad, around Lon, and just getting a chance to be here?
Well, I'm sure Lon expressed it too. I've only been back a couple of times over the last 19 years. I came back for, of course, Wayne's funeral, and then was here about 10 years ago when they honored the 2001 and 2002 team in a very small little private ceremony, which was really cool. So it's the first time I've been out amongst the masses, and it feels really good. I'm amazed driving through campus today of all the growth, and it seems like to me the infrastructure's in place to be really good at everything, driving through it. So, and I'm happy to be here with Brad. Brad obviously is a friend. I don't know if he's told the story, but I actually hosted him at Oklahoma State on his recruiting visit back in the day, and I hosted he and Mark Price, and I was actually hopeful we got Brad, because I knew there was no way in the world I'd ever play ahead of Mark. But Brad, I had a chance against. But he's done a great job here, and people here, I'm sure, are excited and should be about what they're doing here in basketball.
Coach, from your tenure here, and just observing the program from afar, do you feel like it's a place where they can build a consistent winner?
This is what people sometimes don't understand. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Brad has built this thing into a place where they're national championship contenders yearly. And you think about what happened this year, they had a tough draw with Houston. I mean, that's a hard 4 or 5 game. And on the flip side, we had a lot of good things happen for us through the tournament, through the draw, through injuries and things like that. And that's what the tournament isn't all about, but that's a big part of it. And last year they are obviously a 1 seed, good enough to win it all. And they're going to continue to be good as long as he's coaching here, and as long as the community continues to support him like they are. So I'm a fan of what he's doing, and I love seeing Illinois do well. And you win the Big Ten, you're competing for a national championship, because that league is so good that if you're able to be the best in that league, you're able to play with anybody.
You explained that coming back here was cool, but to come back here for a Coaches vs. Cancer event, what does that mean to you?
Well, that's why Brad asked me to come back, and we are involved with Coaches vs. Cancer, but not near the level that U of I is. I think going way back to when Lon was here, and during my time here, and obviously since then, Illinois has done a great job of raising funds for a very worthwhile cause, and we've all been affected by it in some way, shape, or form in a big way. And so I think this is great. I think this is great. Other people do different things, but to have an event like this that could hopefully raise north of $250,000 in one night is pretty special.
And I guess, how did your time at Illinois help you be able to get that experience and build a program?
My time at Illinois was my first time out of my comfort zone. I was raised in Oklahoma, went to school at Oklahoma, coached in Oklahoma, knew everybody in Oklahoma. So my first time getting out of my comfort zone was coming to Champaign, and were the sports columnists for the Tribune and the Times were Skip Bayless and Jay Mariotti. So you guys are all young. You don't remember those guys, but that's not the easiest thing to walk into whenever you're used to being written about by your buddies. So I think this place definitely had a lot to do with maturing me and preparing me for what could potentially happen down the road.
You had built something that was pretty good at Illinois. Then you take the Kansas job. Now you just won your second national title. So did that move? I guess it paid off pretty well.
Well, I think what I learned at Oral Roberts and Tulsa and also Illinois were all great preparations for whatever happens next, wherever it is. And so I learned a lot being here. I learned what it's like to play big boy ball. I learned what it's like to compete in the best league. I learned what it's like to compete against the best coaches. I learned what it's like to recruit high-level guys, which I'd never done before. So naturally, I feel like that my time here certainly advanced me as a coach and as a recruiter. So I owe a lot to this place for that.
There's a lot of talk about how your 2020 team could have been a national champions. How much did winning this title maybe mean for the program and for that group? There's some guys that.
Well, I really believe in 2020 we had the best team. I think we demonstrated that we had the best team. And I've also had other teams that people thought was the best team, and they don't do well in the NCAA tournament. So there's no guarantee because you have a really good team that you're going to do well. But I believe that team was prepared to. And, we had some guys, obviously, who didn't have the good fortune of being a part of some things that could potentially really advance their career. So this one felt special for a lot of reasons, but part of the reason why is because they kind of avenged 2020 and those guys not being able to participate.
Coach, can you comment on the profound change we're seeing in college basketball, and where do you think we're headed with NIL and the transfer portal?
Well, our league, our sport is, in my opinion, is still the best sport there is. But we have some significant challenges in front of us and how we're going to handle certain things. The transfer portal is one that, from the outside looking in, isn't it fantastic? Kids can just go wherever they want, whenever they want, and all that stuff. From the inside looking out is, how do you build a program? How do you maintain it? How do you, and then from the inside looking out, how is it good for kids that if things don't go well, you can just go somewhere else immediately? I personally have become more fond of it than what I would have. I personally think there's more good to it than what I thought there would be, but there's still a lot of bad to it as well. So we got to kind of get that under grips, although we're not going backwards. It's here to stay. And the other thing is the NIL. And even though I think everybody may have an opinion that they have their arms around it, I don't think anybody does. I think it's a situation that's ever evolving, it's changing. I know Illinois has done a great job here in having a program in place to do certain things that can benefit kids in a certain way and protect the kids as they're being benefited, but it's still an inexact science. And so until we kind of get that figured out, I think it's something that it makes us all nervous because we're unsure of, but over time, I think that the playing field will level out to where both can benefit all, as opposed to us being nervous about those two things.
What's the profession like? Just a couple more here. There are voices that can still make the profession still at a high level, and I feel like it's in a good place.
Well, even as great as Mike Krzyzewski has been, and the things that he's offered our sport so greatly, and he's been the most powerful voice that we've had, and probably as good a role model that our sport has. That doesn't mean there aren't people in place that can do a great job and carry the torch, so to speak. But no one person is going to carry that torch replacing him. It needs to be a collection of guys. It needs to be a collection of guys like Brad Underwood, maybe a little bit younger guys that have done unbelievably well, that if given the opportunity, people will follow. But it needs to. They need to have. We need to have a voice that's collective, that's unified, and things like that. Because there's not going to be one person that everybody looks to. It needs to be a unified voice that people look to, and we had that unified voice with Coach K, and it made it a little easier because it came from one person. But there's no reason why, if we're not organized, we can't have even a stronger voice. Unified. Half step, maybe a full step slow. Good shooter though, but needed time to get it off, and pretty tough, but nobody feared. So that would be my assessment of him as a player. He's a